Hey guys, what's going on? Back with another Cold War Zombies video. It looks like Treyarch may have put a transit Easter egg in the new Outbreak event, and it's an event that's going on inside Warzone and Cold War, where you complete some challenges to unlock some weapons and some loot. And I'm going to show you quickly. I jumped into, it's not transit, but I jumped into the bus depot survival mode because it looks like the Easter egg has to do with transit and has to do with kind of the bus depot more than anything. And I'm not saying that this confirms that transit's coming to Cold War. I know a lot of people might see stuff like this and clickbait and say transit's definitely coming, but you got to kind of learn, and a lot of people still don't. A lot of other YouTubers don't know how Treyarch hides their Easter eggs and stuff that you got to look for. Some of it are what I call like low-hanging fruit, easy stuff that's easy to solve, and they put it there right in front of you. And then some of them are a little bit more clever and harder to figure out. This one is a little bit obvious and a little bit clever the way they've done it, if it is an Easter egg. Like I said, I think it's more just a transit Easter egg, not necessarily a hint that transit is coming, but it's still pretty cool. And since I'm actually up close, you can look at the glass, and the glass, the way that it is laid out on the building, and then you look at the blue neon sign. Um, so when I first saw this, I thought 100% sure it's a transit Easter egg, and no questions asked. I know there's a lot of doubters and haters on YouTube and Twitter, but this one I was 100% sure. Now I'm like maybe 90% sure. It's some type of Easter egg, and it looks like it's a transit Easter egg, and it might. So the 10% that I'm doubting is that it makes me think maybe they're gonna change transit when it does come, because if you look on the building, you see this square glass pattern that's um, pretty well known for the bus depot, and that glass layout is pretty well known, pretty iconic, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. That glass pattern and then the blue neon sign could be a very obvious hint. Again, the way that Treyarch does stuff, it could be very clever, but at the same time, it could just be a coincidence. That's why I'm not saying it's 100% confirmed or solved. I just think it's some type of Easter egg, because what I'm going to show you, you got to keep in mind it's something that they gave us during the Zombies event. So now, if this was like season 3 or 4, or even maybe even season 1, but this is season 2, that is a Zombies event. I'm like, that's why I'm like 90% convinced that it's some type of Easter egg, some type of transit Easter egg. Because when you see it, you're either gonna say the same thing, like, well, it kinda is an Easter egg, and at the same time, it's a little bit changed, but maybe they did change a little bit of it for Cold War if we do get transit. Like I said, again, it's some type of Easter egg. I'm not saying it confirms that we're getting transit in Cold War, because the whole transit thing is a touchy topic in itself. Transit has been kind of reformed in other maps and other even zombie games in Call of Duty. A lot of what Transit was innovative with, they kind of perfected it a little bit better in other maps and in games. Specifically, even the Origins and Mob of the Dead, because I know in original Transit you were supposed to use gas fuel like the plane in Mob of the Dead, and then they gave you the tank in Origins that gave you transportation around the map. So transit has been changed. A lot of the stuff are perfected in other maps. Even if you even go to Infinite Warfare, there's some stuff in there that there's some buildings that look like the bus depot, and it reminded me about that, and maybe somehow has like some type of transit feel to it. But I'm going to skip forward to what I'm talking about. That was kind of give you the introduction. Look at the glass pattern, look at the neon sign, and keep in mind it's a Zombies event that just got released in Cold War. And again, keep in mind how Treyarch, a lot of people don't solve Treyarch Easter eggs. And before I go on really quickly, the only thing is, like, in Black Ops 4, I learned to kind of just keep quiet until the season or maybe even the game cycle was over. I like to see how other people solve stuff. I don't like to just jump in. I usually don't like to jump in and just give answers and stuff like that. I think it kind of takes away from something that Treyarch does. And keep in mind, the zombie communities I feel are for like younger people. And I feel somewhat like Billy Madison when I go and solve stuff really quickly. I'm like, well, it's not really meant for somebody with, you know, a certain experience or even IQ score. It's meant for kind of other people to try and figure it out or take a little bit more time to figure out. It's just sometimes when they put stuff up there, it's easy to solve and easy to see if you're not familiar with what they're hinting it with. So what I'm talking about, if you go into the new event and you unlock this new weapon, it's called Teal Drop. Some of that glass pattern looks like it's on the pattern of the new weapon that you unlock, and it's called Teal Drop, and it's a handgun. I think it's for the 1911 handgun. Maybe that itself is even an Easter egg in itself, because the 1911 could be like, hey, it's a zombie starting pistol. So this is stuff that I'm thinking how Treyarch may have planned it to be, and at the same time, again, like I'm not saying it's 100% a solve. It just looks like, and the thing that's doubting me is the teal color. If that was like a blue, like I said, but it could also mean that the neon sign is going to be teal in the new version of Transit. Again, this is the Outbreak event. If you're not familiar with it, you do a couple challenges in Warzone and in the Zombies mode Outbreak. So as I'm spinning it, you might want to kind of maybe pause it. You can see almost that glass square pattern on the gun, how it could be thought of cleverly hidden by Treyarch. That the only thing, like I said, the 10% that made me doubt it is the teal, but this is probably the best image you're going to get, is that kind of square, maybe glass pattern that's on the wall in the bus depot. And I even tweeted to a couple of the devs, usually Brian and Kevin, since they're the more known zombie devs, even Tony Flame and Von Nahar. But I'm like, that's so clever for them to hide such a small detail on a gun that you unlock during the zombies mode. I know the shape of the gun, at first it made me think about maybe a train or like even, not necessarily a bus, but just the back view of the pistol, it made me think about the shape of the bus. I'm like, is that cleverly done? That if you look, maybe I'll use my mouse. If you look, let me go back one. If you look in this area, I'm like, could that? I mean, the bus is more square, obviously. I'm like, well, that. I know it's an everyday shape of a gun. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's just the way guns are shaped. But it made me think about it. But if you look at the glass, and this is probably where I should pause it. If you look at the glass, again, if I go back, and maybe I'll do that at the end of the video, this looks reminiscent of the glass pattern at the bus depot. Now, keep in mind, somebody had to have made this gun, made the pattern on the gun. The only thing that I said I am doubtful about that made me is the teal, but I'm like, they could always change the bus neon sign to teal. Maybe that's hinting that the new or something with teal, or maybe I'm missing something with the teal. That's the only thing that is I'm questioning is the teal. So this obviously, if you think about Transit, and it's like I said, it's the iconic. What's very iconic about the bus depot in Transit is that the glass has this pattern on here, unless for some reason it means something else. These are just grips that you use to kind of like cock the gun, I believe. Don't think that has any specific meaning. Again, so I'm going to switch to the next gun. And it has same thing, a similar square pattern on it, like the glass on the bus depot. Now, again, to kind of say or confirm that it means Transit is 100% coming. It might just be like a Transit bus depot Easter egg, and that's at the end of it. I believe Treyarch may have learned that, hey, you can't just pump out maps without like a good story. Same thing even with Blackout. Like Blackout was a cool battle royale, but it didn't really have a backstory at all. It was just maybe like 4 different operations and seasons that didn't really connect to each other. I think maybe towards the end they might have connected a few things, but uh, to say that they're just gonna put Transit, it's tough because Transit is in the U.S. Everything in Cold War is based in Europe right now. I don't think they're gonna step or any of the. I don't know if there's any maps. I didn't really play campaign, but don't know what exactly is based inside the U.S. Don't know how they're gonna end up if they do in Washington State. And that's the other thing too. I watched some videos. People were saying Washington State and Washington D.C. are like 2 different things, and it just blows my mind how the most basic info some people don't do their research on, and that's what honestly annoys me a lot is people that don't do research. How do you not know Washington D.C. is the capital of the U.S. and Washington State is literally the opposite part of the U.S. But that's a small little pet peeve, I guess, or nuisance that I've seen people say Washington D.C. and Washington State are the same thing. It's honestly on the different ends of the country. And anyways, don't want to go off topic, but again, if you could kind of see, maybe I'll try and pause it right there. The glass pattern on here, and I don't have this one unlocked, so I don't think I can zoom in on it. That's why I wasn't able to. But it looks like that square pattern also is on the gun. Now, again, these might be Easter eggs in the past. Sorry, I probably blinded a lot of people. These are Easter eggs in the past, and that was the thing with Black Ops 4. Some of it I figured out as it was happening in Black Ops 4. Some of it I went back and looked at like the trailers and some Easter eggs. I'm like, oh, that was the hint to this, and that was the hint to that. A lot of it was in Black Ops 3 too, because I didn't do Easter egg solving in Black Ops 3. I kind of jumped on late in Black Ops 3 at the end during maybe Revelations. I kind of got more involved in the story and Easter eggs. Black Ops 4, I pretty much was solving stuff as it was happening, but I kind of learned not to just give out answers to everybody. People weren't doing their research, and I think that was after the whole Blundell thing, where he was in Black Ops 3. Blundell was going on every big channel giving away answers and helps and hints, and it kind of ruined it for Black Ops 4, where people were just like, well, I'm not solving anything unless Blundell tells us it, which is, it's so crazy to think that people just want stuff handed to them, and they just expect people to just give every single answer to them without them doing some work on their own. And that was just something that blew my mind in Black Ops 4, is the fact that, like, people literally were just sitting on their hands while Jason Blundell is going to do an interview and give us all the answers to Black Ops 4. And then obviously in Cold War, Corona happened. They're not able to really do that. And I hope people can see the difference between giving out answers and having people look and solve stuff for them on their own. And that's the one thing that Jimmy Zelensky may have gotten right, I feel, is he was just very cryptic, kind of took a back seat, watched people figure stuff out. And that's what drives, I believe, the zombies community. Now you do have the big zombie YouTubers that hate on everything, and that's the only way they could make money and get views, is just to be negative. But anyways, I just wanted to put this out there. Like I said, it looks like it's a Transit Easter egg put inside the new Outbreak event. It's pretty clever, I believe. I mean, unless for some reason it's just a weird coincidence, or just obviously a weird coincidence. But I don't think it is, because it's a zombies event. It looks like the bus depot glass pattern. I'm going to go back to that really quickly in the beginning, just in case people miss it. It's pretty obvious when you look at it. You can see the glass pattern there. Maybe I'll jump to a part where, do I end up, yeah, well, I guess that might be the best thing there. Yeah, like here, I mean, that's pretty obvious. You can't say that's not obvious. I probably should have cut and pasted it next to each other, but who's to say? Who knows? It's pretty clever. Like I said, I don't think it's going to confirm that we're getting transit. I just think that it means that it's a transit Easter egg. I don't know how transit's going to fit into the Cold War. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.